Alright guys, Keith with Arkenberg Farms. As you can see around me, the building's coming along nicely. Got pretty much most of the stuff completed up. Still got to do a little bit of work here where I'm not supposed to be able to walk through the wall, and I've got to finish off these walls and dense glass and all that fun stuff. But it is the beginning of the year, which means it's time for me to get out my black book of knowledge here, start to put together my seed order for this coming up year. I always like to do this early because other farmers typically try to get stuff done early, but in this past year with the whole coronavirus thing, and this year I've already heard about it, people are even ordering earlier this year. A lot of farms already had their seed order in before the beginning of the year. We're already on the 6th now, which means I need to get it done. I'm going to put it together. So I'm going to put together a video and show you how I put together my seed order. Now, since I've started the farm, I've had this notebook, pan up, right here. And this notebook has all of my informations in it. So I've got this, which would be seed densities. Like I'm broken down by grams per foot per row, grams per foot per bed, and so on and so on. By recording densities each time I plant. I also do some plotting, some plot planning in here, but primarily I do everything in spreadsheets for that. But right now we're just worried about determining the amount of seed we want to buy for this season. So we'll start off with a simple one. We'll just do radishes. So I know with my radishes that I use 0.12 grams per foot per row, and that's on a 40-foot bed. So that's what we know. Now with my radishes we usually go 6 rows. So we take our 6 rows, our calculator here, and multiply that by 0.12. So that equals 0.72 grams per foot of bed. Now, on my farm, all my beds are pretty much standardized out at 40 foot. So with a 40-foot bed, we'll multiply this number by 40. So that gives us 28.8 grams per bed. And that's a 40-foot bed. So right there. So each of my beds, which are 30-inch wide, and we got 6 rows. So we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, yeah, there we go. So there's my beds. There's my rows. This one bed should use just about a little bit more than an ounce. I mean, safely, we'll just say 29 grams. And that is for radish. So now I go through and determine how many beds I'm going to plant. Typically, we plant out radishes every single week. let me see how many weeks we have real quick. So we plan out for about 32 weeks of harvest. So we take the 32 times the 28.8. That tells me we need 920.6 grams for the season. And that is 1 bed per week. So we take that and divide it by 28 to give me ounces. That's 32 ounces. So 32.9 ounces, or divide that by 16 to get it in pounds. We're going to need about 2 pounds of radish for the season. As for 1 bed per week, that is 40 foot long with 6 rows on that. So by working through the math there, we now know exactly how many pounds of lettuce or radish seed we need. Now the next one I was thinking about was lettuce. So with our, let's just say head lettuce. On our head lettuce, we have 4 rows because we use our landscape fabric. And there are in row 10 inches per row. So this looks like this. So they're staggered holes. So this is 10 inches. And in between here and here is 8 inches. The important number we need to know is this 10-inch number. Because if we have 40 foot long bed, move that into inches, take that times 12. So we got 480 inches of bed. And we divide that by 10 inches. So that tells me we need 48 head of lettuce per row. All of our fabric set up on 4 row, so we multiply that by 4. Gives us 192 heads per bed. Which is great, because typically we use 200 cell flats. And this number right here gives us a very, very close to having completely planted out with 1 200 cell flat. Because we usually get germination that is about that good. I mean, that'd be only 8 out, so yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, sometimes we'll burn a couple extra here or there, plug in other stuff in the holes, but that's about what we're looking for. 92 times 32. There we go. So we're going to need 2,944 seeds for the season if we plant out 1 bed of lettuce per week. And that does not include calculating for winter as well, which we usually plant out a whole bunch more. So, I mean, just automatically, I would say we just add another 200. We got 1, 2, 3 tunnels, so that's, oh, about 20 beds. So take that times 10. Here's an extra. Yeah, there's an extra 2,000 seeds. So right there, 1,000 for winter. Tells me that we're going to need about 5,000 seeds of head lettuce for the season. Now, we will use various different types of seed for this, so we won't order just 5,000 of one kind. we'll do butters, and we'll do green leaves, and we'll do redheads and oak leaves and a whole bunch of other things. So we'll probably just choose 5 varieties and get 1,000 each. I mean, that makes it pretty simple that way. And then we'll just kind of determine that through the season. A lot of times when there's seed shortages, they tend to happen at the beginning of the season. Every once in a while, things completely sell out and you just won't be able to find them. But for the most part, you're able to find them later in the year. Okay, I was just looking back at my numbers and I noticed something went drastically wrong. Because 32 times 200 is 6,400. So not this 2944 that I don't know where it came from. So 6,400 plus the extra 2,000. So we're looking at 8,400. That's what I thought. That's a lot bigger number. I thought we grew closer to 10,000 heads here a year. Plus our leaf lettuces and everything else, which that's a lot of transplants. So from here, I take this and I enter it all into a spreadsheet. And as you can see up here, it's kind of the same thing. Instead of doing it by hand, I have it calculated out. These are actually by stuff from 2019. But this way I know exactly what it is, where it's coming from, how many units size I'm ordering, the cost, and the quantity of units I need, which also gives me a grand total of how much it's going to cost, which this year, my first seed order was right about $700, oh, closer to $800, which this year is going to be a lot more because the cost of seed has gone up. Okay, now that is a little bit of a harder way to do it. I like to do it that way specifically for the purpose of I want to know grams per foot in a single row. So typically I might plant 6 rows, but if demand's not that high, I want to go down to 5 rows. Then I have the same amount of bed and I know how many seeds should be in there. Demand's really high and I need to push it and I don't have extra beds, I can plant out 7 rows. Some people even do 10 rows of radishes in a bed. But that way it gives me the flexibility to work either way I want, at least on numbers a row per bed for the amount I want to pull out. And the same thing with our brassica mix. If, originally when I did these numbers, I did them on 9 rows. And I discovered I could actually take it down to 7 rows and get the same yield, if not a little bit better. It's muddy out here, but if not a little bit better. But now it enables me to calculate my seeds that I need and what should actually be put out there in the field each time I plant. So right now I'm going to take you back in the old pack shed, which is going to be the new office, real quick, and show you how I actually derive these numbers to start with, because then it'll make a little bit more sense. So here's a little bonus. I'm going to show you how I actually get those numbers to start with. So I'll go out in the field and say I've got, we're going to say roughly we've got, say 40 grams of radish seed. We put it in our hopper. We plant. We get back to the end of the row. We've got 11 grams left. So 40 minus 11. See if I did this right. 29 grams. So, like in our example, it's about 29 grams, which is just a little over an ounce of seeds for our bed. So, with that number, 29, we planted 6 rows. So, we'll divide that by 6. So, we now know that we got that, which is 4.833 grams per row. Now I do have some funky rows out there that are only like 36 foot long, some 38, and if I do 2, one at the bottom of the field, one at the top field, and I go with the walk path in between, I get 82, which gives me another funky number. So now I want to know how many grams per row per foot. That's the number we started with last time. So let's just say it's 40 foot. So we will now take this number and divide it by 40. And that's how we end up with what we ended up to start with. 0.0 0.12, and I got 0.8333. We'll just round that third number, 0.121. I started off with the 0.12 grams per foot per row. So that's where this base number comes from. It's just as simple as that. So if you have a good system, you know, every time we plant radishes, it's 6 rows, no matter what. Then all you need to know is the amount of seeds per bed. So 29 grams per bed. There's your number. If, like me, you've got some rows that are a little shorter, most of them are all 40, but I still want to know on these shorter rows. And, you know, if demand's high, I can plant 7 up to 9, even 10 rows on this bed, or I can take it down to 5 rows. Then I have to know the grams per foot per row on the bed. And that way I can calculate how much seed I actually need for the bed. And from there, you can actually go back out and calculate how much you need for the year. With, you can make adjustments, you know, I might do this or that, but that goes away eventually anyways. You just kind of work with it as a season. We're just making estimates at this point in time. But the one thing you have to always remember is that at the beginning of the year, the kind of seed you want is easiest to find. After the beginning of the year, it might not be so easy to find that seed you want, because I've had at least one variety of radishes that I cannot get past about February ever. So if I don't get them ordered now, I don't get them. So, well, hope y'all like what you saw today. Thought it was useful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all. Have a good day.